This vital entrance to the Persian Gulf is held by local MEC forces who have established a strong defensive presence on the scattered islands of the waterway. For the US Rapid Deployment Force to clear the waterway, they must first deploy air assets to disable a key MEC power station, after which the US forces must enter the channel and capture the islands defended by these determined MEC fighters. This video is going to be a map analysis of the Operation Clean Sweep map from Battlefield 2. We'll be looking at the real-life inspirations for the map, as well as the environment and layout of the map itself. We'll also be going over the flag points and equipment that both the USMC and MEC forces have at their disposal here. When researching the real-world inspiration for this map, I wasn't able to find an exact location of the islands. According to the description, this operation takes place at the vital entrance of the Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf is a Mediterranean sea which is accessible through the Strait of Hormuz from the Gulf of Oman, and the Gulf is located between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. I think we can conclude that the operation for this map takes place on one of the islands at the Strait of Hormuz. I thought that the map was specifically based off these islands located in the Musandam, which is the northernmost province of the country of Oman. But this region is mostly rocky and dry with very little vegetation, unlike the actual map itself, which has some dense vegetation in certain parts of it. However, to the northwest of this region is an island off the coast of Iran that has a forest called the Hara Forest Protected Area. This region is the exact opposite of the Musandam region, as it has lots of vegetation and waterways, but no hills or mountains. Perhaps Operation Clean Sweep is a combination of these two regions, though there is no way to be 100% sure. But it definitely has the feel of fighting on an island with the coastal ambient sounds that we hear throughout the map itself. The number of control point locations varies depending on what size version of the map one is playing on. Operation Clean Sweep has 3 map sizes, a 64-player, 32-player, and 16-player. I will be focusing on the 64-player version, as the 32 and 16-player versions of the map are the same, except that they have less control points to capture due to their reduced play space and smaller player count. But I'll denote on the screen which control point locations are available on each versions of the map as I go through them. This is a Conquest Assault map. It is similar to a standard Conquest map in that the goal is to reduce the other team's tickets to 0 in order to win. However, one team acts as the attacker and another acts as the defender. On this map, the USMC are the attackers and therefore have an uncapturable main base to start off from. They also start off with more tickets as well. And the MEC are the defenders, automatically controlling all the capturable points on the map. The 64-player version of Operation Clean Sweep has a total of 8 control points. The USMC main base is called the Airfield, while the capturable MEC controlled points are the Control Center, the Refueling Station, the Small Airstrip, the Abandoned Village, the Communication Central, the Harbor, and the MEC Airfield. 4 bridges are located on this map. They can be destroyed with explosives such as C4 and will require an engineer to repair them. There are also a few low areas where the water is shallow enough for vehicles to traverse, but they should be wary of mines laid on the ground by engineers in these areas. First, we'll take a look at the main base and starting point for the USMC team, the airfield. This is also where the commander's support structures are located for the US commander. This base is separated by ocean, so the only way in or out of it is either by sea or air vehicles. Alternatively, one could swim, but that would be the slowest and most vulnerable way to travel. There are 6 barracks, 3 carports, 2 hangars, and 2 bunkers here. And a HESCO wall surrounds part of the base. For the commander's support structures, the UAV trailer is west of the 2 airstrips. The radar station is on a small hill, also west of the airstrips. And the 3 LW-155 artillery guns are located on the beach east of the airstrips. As for the vehicles that spawn here, 3 LAV-25 APCs will spawn under these carports, 4 RIBs will spawn at the docks, 1 MH-60 Nighthawk transport helicopter spawns next to the first hangar, where an FA-18A Hornet is located. An F-15 Eagle spawns in the second hangar nearby another MH-60 Nighthawk, an AH-1Z Viper attack helicopter. And a DPV spawns here between the first Nighthawk and F-18. As for the stationary emplacements, one M249 LMG is located in the bunker behind the docks, and a Stinger AA emplacement is also located behind the docks, surrounded by sandbags. The control center is the first MEC control point on the map, and the closest to the US airfield. This does not mean, however, that it is the easiest point for the US forces to capture. In most cases, it's actually one of the hardest, as MEC forces will spawn here at the start of the game in order to rebuff the bulk of the US assault on the island. For the main entrances via the road to this point, one is along the coastline and another is between 2 large hills, as well as the entrance leading towards the smaller islands. But really, this point is accessible from all directions, from sea vehicles like boats and APCs. There are 6 buildings, 4 bunkers, and 2 carports here. These 2 buildings here can be garrisoned by infantry. And this building specifically also gives infantry access to the beach below it via a ladder. No matter which team controls the point, 2 FAVs will spawn on the smaller outer islands, and 2 more FAVs will spawn closer to the flagpole, with 1 under the carport. 2 RIBs will also spawn here. If the US team controls the point, then an M1 Abrams tank will spawn under the carport, and a LAV-25 APC will spawn on the other side of the road across from the flagpole. As for the stationary emplacements, 2 AT launchers are located on the smaller outer islands, 4 LMGs are located in each of the bunkers, and 1 AA launcher is located by one of the main entrances. The refueling station is the second MEC controlled point. As its name suggests, this is where vehicles will stop in order to refuel as they make their way across the island. There are 3 main entrances to this point, one in the northeast, and another in the southeast along the road towards the small airstrip, and another to the west across a large bridge towards the control center. There is another entrance to the north, where the water is shallow enough for vehicles to cross, also towards the control center. There are 3 buildings, 2 carports, a guard tower, a bunker, and 3 silos. This building here can be garrisoned by infantry, and these 2 silos have ladders that infantry can climb to the top of. And this fence has a hole in it that infantry can use to enter and exit the point through. No matter which faction controls the point, 1 FAV and 1 tank will spawn under the large carport, and an APC will spawn under the other carport. A RIB also spawns next to the large carport, and another FAV spawns near the flagpole. As for the stationary emplacements, one LMG each is located in both the guard tower and bunker. Another LMG is located on this concrete barrier at the northeast entrance, and an AA launcher is located near the large carport. The small airstrip is the third MEC-controlled point, and is where the Su-34 ground attack fighter will spawn, so long as the MEC maintain control over this point. There are 4 main entrances to this point, 2 by the harbor, one which leads to the refueling station, and another that leads to the abandoned village. And the other 2 entrances are near the hangar, both of which also head towards the points previously mentioned. The point is partially surrounded by a metal fence that has holes in it that infantry can move through after they destroy the wooden boards blocking them. There are 6 buildings, a carport, and 2 guard towers here. No matter which faction controls the point, 2 ribs will spawn in front of a ramp, 2 FAVs will spawn under the carport, and another FAV spawns next to the hangar. If the MEC maintain control over this point, then a T-90 tank spawns in front of the large warehouse building, and as mentioned previously, an Su-34 ground attack fighter will spawn in the hangar. Only 2 LMG emplacements are at this point, one in each of the guard towers. The abandoned village is the 4th and smallest MEC-controlled point. This point can be accessed from all sides, but the 2 main entrances are along the road, one that goes northwest across the bridge to the small airstrip, and another that splits to either go east to the harbor or north to the communications central. There are 3 small buildings here and 3 ruined ones, and these 2 buildings here can be garrisoned by infantry. No matter which faction controls the point, 2 FAVs and 1 RIB will spawn here, and only 1 AT launcher will spawn near the flagpole. The Communications Central is the 5th MEC-controlled point, and is where the Mi-28 Havoc attack helicopter spawns for the MEC Theme, so long as they maintain control over the point. There are 4 main entrances here, one to the west towards the small airstrip, one to the south towards the abandoned village, and 2 to the northeast towards either the harbor or MEC Airfield. There is also 1 boarded up hole in the metal fence here, near the helipad, that infantry can destroy and move through. There are 3 buildings and a large radio communication tower, which the location gets its name from. No matter which faction controls the point, 2 FAVs and 2 RIBs will spawn here, as well as an attack helicopter at the helipad. As for the stationary emplacements, 1 AA launcher is located on a small hill surrounded by sandbags, and an AT launcher is located here by the tall radio tower. The harbor is the 6th MEC-controlled point, and is where large ships would dock in order to bring supplies to the island. There are 3 main entrances to this point, one to the north towards the MEC Airfield, one to the west toward the Communications Central, and one to the south along a stretch of coast towards the abandoned village. There are fences around certain areas of this point that have a few holes in them that infantry can use to move through, assuming they've destroyed the wooden boards first. There are 3 buildings, 2 carports, 8 large silos, and 4 small silos at this point. This large warehouse here can be garrisoned by not only infantry, but also vehicles as well. These 2 small silos here can be climbed by infantry as well. No matter which faction controls the point, 2 RIBs will spawn down by this ramp, 2 FAVs will spawn under this carport, and another FAV and an APC will spawn under the other carport. Only 1 AT launcher emplacement is located here near the flagpole. And finally, the MEC Airfield is the 7th MEC controlled point on the map. It is also where some of the commander support structures for the MEC Theme are located. There are two main entrances to this point, one to the north that goes toward the communications central, and one to the west towards the harbor. The base is mostly surrounded by a fence that has a few holes in it that infantry can use to access the base. There are 3 barracks, 2 other buildings, 2 carports, a hangar, and a guard tower. These 2 buildings here can be garrisoned by infantry. For the commander support structures, the UAV trailer is located at the end of the airstrip, and the radar station is east of the trailer. The D-30 artillery guns are located on a beach directly west of the MEC Airfield. No matter which faction controls the point, a transport helicopter will spawn at the helipad. An APC spawns at the end of the airstrip, one FAV spawns between these 2 barracks, and another FAV spawns in front of one of the carports. A tank will spawn under this carport here. If the MEC maintain control over this point, then a MiG-29 fighter will spawn in the hangar. As for the stationary emplacements, one LMG is located in the guard tower at the north entrance, and an AA launcher is also located at this entrance, surrounded by sandbags. Another AA launcher is located at the end of the airstrip and also surrounded by sandbags. And finally, one AT launcher is near the flagpole. There weren't really any other interesting locations on this map that stood out to me, so instead I'll just mention the hills. The large hills throughout the map are not only great places for snipers to engage enemy troops below them, but a few of them, such as this one between the small airstrip and abandoned village, can be traversed by vehicles. They can also become heavy combat zones where infantry on both teams engage each other for dominance of these various hilltops, as they fight their way across the battlefield of Operation Clean Sweep.